Rite of the Nine has finally arrived, but there's a significant catch. Out of the 12 reprised weapons available, you can only farm from the current featured dungeon. In this video, we'll dive into all the weapon Godrolls, helping you find which ones are truly powerful and worth your time. And to make this guide even easier, I'm including timestamps to help you easily find the weapons from whichever dungeon is currently in rotation. As of the posting of this video, that should be Ghosts of the Deep. But first, let's talk about the new origin trait, Gravity Well. It's present on all of these reprised weapons, and it's somehow better and worse than everyone is saying. So the Gravity Well origin trait reads, reloading your weapon collects nearby ammo bricks. It functions exactly like you would imagine. When you shoot your weapon, your next reload automatically collects nearby ammo bricks. This only counts for manual reloads. Automatic reload perks like auto-loading holster do not work with this origin trait, which makes the origin trait the best for certain archetypes, but absolutely useless for others. And with that in mind, let's talk about the Spire of the Watcher weapons, which will come back into rotation on June 17th. And we're starting with the Wilderflight, which is a Void Double Fire GL. Now this role of Envious and Bait and Switch is really probably the best role. Envious Arsenal reloads your weapons automatically when you do damage with your other weapons, and Bait and Switch gives you that 30% damage bonus when you do damage with both your other weapons. This is a great weapon for boss damage. And since Envious Arsenal is an automatic reload perk, it won't work with Gravity Well. So we're going to use Hex Balance Stock to get plus 20 handling, which improves our weapon swaps. Now, as far as competition, there is the Wild Style, the Solar Double Fire GL from the Vanguard playlist, and that matches Hezen's Vengeance affinity. They're both solar. But Wild Style's best reload perk is Reconstruction, which caught a nerf and now only reloads your weapon every 6 seconds. Go for a utility role like Disorienting Grenades, Slide Shot, and Vorpal Weapon. Disorienting Grenades will blind your enemies, not the arc blind, when you hit them. Slide Shot will reload your GL when you slide, and Vorpal Weapon is going to give you a 20% damage boost versus bosses and champions. But Disorienting Grenades are really only useful in activities where you're significantly underpowered. If you can one-hit enemies, Wave Frames or Area Denial Frames are much more effective. Let's move on to our next weapon, the Long Arm. It's an Arc Aggressive Frame Scout Rifle. Now, I'm going to be straightforward that I think the best perk combination is probably Subsistence and Rolling Storm. Scout rifles are in a bit of a weird place because Bungie keeps their damage low to balance out their range. Now, this particular scout rifle has something very interesting. It has Rolling Storm in the 4th column, and that may not seem incredibly special right now. When the artifact changes, though, it will be one of the few primary weapons able to generate Bolt Charge. The other aggressive frame scout is the Time-Worn Wayfarer from episode Echoes, but I would actually say that the Unworthy Scout Rifle from the Sunder Doctrine is the main competition here. And when you compare the two, Unworthy is much better. Not only can you get Rolling Storm in column 4 there as well, you can also get Rewind rounds, which gives you ammo back based on the number of hits. Or you can do something like Firefly for some truly ridiculous explosive chaining. And Unworthy's origin trait, Subjugation, is essentially free explosive payload. But if you don't have Sunder Doctrine, and therefore don't have Unworthy, Long Arm is very good, and Gravity Well is a very strong origin trait. Next up, we have the Terminus Horizon, which is an arc high impact frame machine gun. Think Quillam's Terminus or Fixed Odds. Now right away, I think that the best role for this is probably going to be Reconstruction and Rolling Storm. Now, Terminus is in the high impact family frame for machine guns, and it's probably being slept on. And that's because it came out so close to the Watchful Eye, which is a 600 RPM aggressive. I played with both, including this Dragonfly and Rolling Storm role, and my conclusion is they're both good. This mostly just comes down to preference. I prefer the 600s personally, but if you don't have a Godroll Watchful Eye, or you like the range and stability of high impacts better, absolutely get one of these. I know I will. The last weapon in the Spire of the Watcher dungeon is the Liminal Vigil Stasis Heavy Burst Sidearm. I'm not usually a primary sidearm guy in PvE, and the PvE perks really don't offer much. You could do something like Headstone and Rhyme Stealer, but are you really going for headshots when you're in sidearm range? Now, in PvP, this gun is very good. The best perk combo is probably Perpetual Motion and Kill Clip. Perpetual Motion is going to increase our handling and reload speed up to +20, which helps when we're activating Kill Clip, because Kill Clip gives us a bonus damage for 5 seconds when we reload after a kill, and the damage bump lets you down a garden in 0.47 seconds at any resilience. The role you're seeing is Lone Wolf and Kill Clip because it's the shiny that dropped for me. But make no mistake, I will be looking to upgrade when Spire is active again. Next up is my favorite dungeon, Ghosts of the Deep. I have 59 clears of this dungeon. I even made a guide on that dreaded water traversal section, which no one watched. Yeah, we better move on. Starting out with the Greasy Luck Solar Rapid Fire Glaive, with the best role probably being Reconstruction or maybe Replenishing Aegis in the third column, and either Incandescent or Close to Melee in the fourth. Now, Reconstruction will reload our glaive passively. Replenishing Aegis refunds ammo when we block damage with the shield. In the fourth column, Incandescent spreads Scorch on projectile kill, while Close to Melee gives you a 30% melee damage bonus for 10 seconds when you get a projectile kill. There are a lot of other good perks in the fourth column for this glaive, like Redirection, which recently got a buff, but the problem with that perk is that glaive melees don't count as weapon kills. They're uncharged melees, so when you stab an enemy with your glaive, you're not going to gain stacks of Redirection. I really do enjoy glaives and will 100% be looking for a Replenishing Aegis and Close to Melee combination for my Titan. Next up is the new Pacific Epitaph, a Stasis Wave Frame GL. Wave frames are very good for ad clear, but with Bungie releasing area denials, they've kind of been pushed out of the spotlight. If and when Bungie nerfs area denials, we may see this archetype make a comeback, in which case I might do something like Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie, or maybe even Lead from Gold and Chain Reaction. But even if that is the case, this role is pretty low on my list because we have much better options in the energy slot. Think Forbearance, which can roll with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction. Next up, we have the Cold Comfort Stasis Aggressive Frame Rocket Launcher. There's not much more to say here because there's really only one role you could possibly want: Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch. Envious Arsenal fixes the major issue with aggressive frame rockets. They're incredibly slow at reloading. By simply swapping between weapons, you now will never have to manually reload. Bait and Switch, which we talked about already, is currently the best damage perk we have in the game that doesn't require about 57 hoops to jump through. Now, before anyone types in the comments, yes, Hezin's Vengeance from Vault of Glass has the same role, and it has the Time Lost Magazine Origin trait, which gives you 2 rockets on your reload, and it's craftable. But do you know what Hezin's isn't? Stasis. And activities with surges are still in the game. So Cold Comfort is 100% worth farming. The next weapon is the best one in this dungeon. But first, if you're finding this guide helpful, take a second to like our video and subscribe, because we have some exciting things coming soon. Our final weapon in this dungeon is No Survivors. It's a solar aggressive frame SMG. The role that I am currently going to be hunting is Heel Clip and Incandescent. Aggressive frame SMGs have not been in the meta in a hot second, and part of that is due to their smaller magazine size of 29 versus lightweights, which have 39. And this archetype is notoriously slow at reloading. So why is this the weapon I will farm for the hardest? Well, it's all about the perk combination of Heel Clip and Incandescent. Heel Clip gives you a flat 120 HP when you reload after a kill. Incandescent will cause defeated enemies to explode and spread Scorch, which makes chaining kills as easy as shooting fish in a barrel. For column 2, you'll want to look for Flared Magwell to increase your reload speed. And the origin trait Gravity Well pairs perfectly with this since you want to be reloading to activate Heel Clip already. Lastly, we have Prophecy. and there are some very good weapons in this set. And then there's Judgment. If Disappointment was a gun in Destiny, it would be this hand cannon. If you're looking for PvE, you have things like Headstone and Rhyme Stealer, but I don't tend to run a lot of hand cannons in PvE unless they have the explosive payload perk. And I don't really care about hitting crits on red bars enemies in PvE. And the news is worse in PvP. Sure, you have Keep Away and Lone Wolf in Column 3, and in Column 4 you have Opening Shot or Precision Instrument, but in the kinetic slot, I would much rather use Rose or Fatebringer or even Midnight Coup. In fact, in the gameplay, you're actually watching my Ias Luna from Grasp of Avarice with Rapid Hit and Kill Clip. Definitely a skip. Unlike our next weapon, the Prosecutor, which is an arc precision frame auto rifle. Prosecutor is my favorite auto archetype for PvP, but in PvE it has a big problem. See, it's directly competing with the VS Pyroelectric Propellant, and that weapon has jolting feedback, which is better than Rolling Storm in my opinion. But if you don't own Vesper's Host, or hate the dungeon, then Prosecutor with Rolling Storm is a great alternative. Maybe go with something like Subsistence in the third column. Where I really love this auto is in the Crucible. Now, I have a roll with Dragonfly and Frenzy, not a PvP roll by the way, that just slaps people real hard. The explosion from precision kills just punishes team shooting, which is everywhere, and the shots just feel so sticky. So what PvP perks are worth your time? Zen Moment or Keep Away in the third column will make your auto feel stable, which is very important on this archetype. In the fourth, you need a damage buff because 450 autos have a base 0.8 time to kill, and I would highly recommend Onslaught in casual modes like Control. Onslaught ×1 will drop the TTK to a 0.67 on all resilience levels. ×2 drops it to a 0.58, and Onslaught ×3 is a 0.5 second TTK. Now, as an alternative, you could use Paracausal Affinity to reduce your TTK to a 0.67 when you get a kill with light damage. One thing's for sure, I'm going to be hunting both a PvE and a PvP role of this weapon. Up next is the Relentless Pulse Rifle. It's a strand high impact frame pulse rifle. Think things like the Messenger or Cold Denial. I don't really use pulse rifles often in PvE, but if you do, you could go for something like Tear or Slice in the third column and maybe Hatchling or Paracausal Affinity in the fourth column. For PvP, high impacts aren't exactly meta, but I still bust out my Messenger with Rapid Hit and Kill Clip on occasion. And so the best role on Relentless, I think, will probably be Keep Away and Head Seeker. If you have the time and vault space, and this falls into your lap, well, it's just fine. I wouldn't kill yourself grinding on this one. Which leads us to the final weapon on our list, a Sudden Death, which is a void aggressive frame shotgun. For my PvP role, I'll probably go with Slide Shot Opening Shot. Slide Shot will reload part of your magazine and give you +20 to your range and stability, while Opening Shot gives you +20 aim assist and +25 range for your first shot, which is very important in PvP. Now there are some perks that are specifically for PvE here, like 1-2 Punch and Trench Barrel. With 1-2 Punch, hitting an enemy with every pellet increases your melee damage, and then your melee actually increases the damage of your shotgun, and this is 50% increased damage. But I rarely use shotguns in PvE for two reasons. First, both fusion rifles and rocket sidearms do comparable damage to shotguns. Second, in more difficult content, I tend to value range, and almost all other special weapons will have more range than shotguns. That's all the weapons in Rite of the 9. Let us know which weapons and perks you're chasing in the comments below. GG, Fire Team.